How about this? Does this sound any better? Victoria, sound. How about this? Is this sounding any better? Well, how about this? I'm gonna figure it out. We'll.
File 2401691SC, Jennings versus Fitz. Parties are present. This is a small claims case. What that means is we're trying to get this done without any attorneys, just having the parties here in front of me, and to have this decided by me as opposed to doing something like having a jury trial. So if both parties are ready to proceed here in front of me without attorneys, and me as the decider in this case, then the first thing I'm going to do is swear you both in. You can go ahead and raise your right hands. Mr. Fitz, I can't see you, but I'd ask you to raise your right hand. Ms. Jennings has raised her right hand. You swear or affirm any testimony you give here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
All right. So I did get a lot of information here, basically, because you guys send me the contract. Essentially, this is what I want to ask you. So, Ms. Jennings, when you signed this contract, or at least some period before July 22nd, did you get a chance to look inside the barn?
Yes.
All right. So in other words, you saw items that you considered to be of value besides the ones that Mr. Fitz wanted to keep. You sign this agreement, and by the time you go back there with people on the 22nd, those items are now missing from the barn.
Correct.
All right. So, Mr. Fitz, you see the problem here. Ms. Jennings signed a contract with you because she decided that the items that she'd be able to get per this contract were worth it to her, worth more than $2,500 in cash she paid. And that, you know, for a while she wasn't allowed in there, but by the time she's in there ready with guys to move stuff out, everything's missing. You understand what Miss Jennings' complaint is, right?
She's saying that, the way I'm understanding, she's saying that I sold stuff after I signed that piece of paper, and I did not do that.
Mr. Fitz, I want you to listen to me instead of what you think is being said. So, okay. She signed a contract that the contents of the house of the barn, she's going to be able to take those away except for the items that are spelled out in the contract. She pays you money to do that. And then, you know, 12 days later when she shows up, all the stuff that she saw before she signed that contract isn't there anymore.
I don't know what to say, Jan.
Well, I know what to say. You or someone you know cherry-picked all that stuff out of there because it was worth money. And so Miss Jennings is standing there with nothing worth the $2,500 she paid.
What stuff was it she's talking about was high value that was in the garage that she was saying that I sold after I signed the paper? What value? There weren't no big valuable stuff in the pole barn, but small stuff in the pole barn.
Okay, this is what I want to tell you, Mr. Fitz. Did anything go out of the house or the barn between July 10th and July 22nd?
Nothing came out of the barn after I signed that paper.
Okay, I kind of don't believe you, but I'm going to have Miss Jennings explain why she's saying there was things in the barn that she saw, and then by the time she came and get them, they weren't there anymore. Miss Jennings, what are you talking about?
There was a pipe bender back there. There were just lots of open spaces of things that were just gone. Everything, like, there was little things left in the barn. It was almost all gone.
Okay. What percentage of stuff would you say was in the barn that you saw when you signed that contract that was gone by the time you showed up?
Half the barn was gone.
Okay. And did you confront Mr. Fitz about that? What was his explanation?
Yes, we did. He said that it was his stuff and he gave it to his friends.
All right. So Mr. Fitz, that's kind of what I'm talking about. You gave away some items to people that you know?
No, that's not true.
So
Everything
you didn't say that.
Everything was still in the garage when I signed that paper. Everything was still in there. When I finally let the door open, we had a contract that they clean up the house, get everything done in the house first, then we go out to the garage. We go out to the garage. The guy tells me that I sold stuff out of the garage after I signed that paper. I told him, no, I did not. He called me a liar. I called him a liar. We had a few words.
Okay, Mr. Fitz, I'm not concerned with whether or not you sold stuff, because maybe you just gave it away. But you understand, so you're telling me there's nothing that left the barn after you signed this contract before Miss Jennings was allowed in on the 22nd?
I did not sell nothing or give nothing away after I signed that paper. Everything was still in the garage. That they saw was still in the garage.
Okay, so what is Miss Jennings saying when she said she confronted you about it and you said it's your stuff and you gave it away to your friends?
She didn't confront me at all about anything. Her worker is the one that confronted me about the stuff and told me, then threatened that the stuff that they already took out of the house that day, he's going to dump it in the yard and just say the hell with it. I said, what?
All right.
Then
so let's talk about one thing. Let's talk about a pipe bender.
$400. Did they
what
say
happened
anything?
to the pipe bender?
The pipe bender, I never had a pipe bender in there.
Okay.
That's all I can say is I did not sell nothing else after I signed that paper with her. Everything was still in the garage that was there. Maybe it's all...
I'm sorry, that was Mr. Fitz, what is it that you think Miss Jennings saw in the barn that she thought was worth $2,500?
What about the toolbox that was in there that I was able to keep? What about the cherry picker I was able to keep? What about the torpedo heater that I was able to keep?
Yes, sir. All of that was in the contract, and you agreed to keep that. What I'm saying is, what did Miss Jennings see that she thought was worth giving you $2,500?
Tools, welders, drill press, sandblast cabinet, a solar tank where you clean your parts up, tools to do engine overhauls. I mean, I didn't sell nothing after I signed the paper there, because what it is, I sold all the high value stuff way before I even called them in to buy the stuff from me. And now they're saying
and then
that
why was it that they weren't allowed in from July 10th to July 22nd?
The agreement was to get the house done first, then we'll go to the garage. That was the agreement. A verbal word agreement that we had that I had with Liz.
Okay, but that's not what the contract says. I'm looking at the contract.
Well, my reading ability is not that great, so I mean.
All right, Ms. Jennings, you saw him, you heard Mr. Fitz go through a list of items he thought were in the garage that were worth it.
Yes, those were gone.
Okay. So, ma'am, of the $2,500, in other words, some of this is labor that you're doing, right? Sort of cleaning out the house. And then you just expect that on top of that, you'd at least make your $2,500 worth of stuff you're allowed to take.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, did you take anything out of the house or the barn? What was the value of what was left?
We didn't take anything out of the barn at all. And the house value stuff, there was so much moldy stuff, we filled up 5 dumpsters full.
Okay, that's not my question. My question is, what did you get that was
$500 of value.
Okay. And then when you say, so that's the, you said you had expenses of $500. What are those expenses?
Yes, I paid 5 boys to help me.
Okay, labor you actually
Yes.
paid. All right.
Yes.
So essentially what I'm going to do here, ma'am, is I understand what you're asking for, and I agree with you. I don't know what happened. When you said you made a police report, was there any follow-up to that?
No, nothing.
Okay, so you haven't been contacted by them.
No.
Did you report that as what?
As like
I mean, to
stolen
me,
money.
you're calling that breach of contract, but did you suspect that somebody got in there and took that stuff?
No, he had told me he gave it to his friends, and that's why I had reported it, because he had given it away.
All right. And when you say he told you that, you mean to one of these people you had working, not to you directly?
No, he told me.
Okay.
A lie.
So I am gonna find damages here, but I'm only gonna find damages at 2,500, ma'am. I understand where you got your 3,000, but if you were able to recover at least partial of that, that would go against that. But you are able also, you paid out of pocket $105.05 to have Mr. Fitz served and to have this filed. You would get that on top too. We just call that something different. We call that cost. So you really have a judgment here, $2,605.05. That judgment will get sent out to parties in the mail. I will explain this to both of you, although I'm not sure why Miss
Well, what
Jennings
about
would
the
appeal this
$400
finding.
cash you got from me that Rodney took from me? And then hollered out to Liz that I got the $400. Let's go.
Sir, I don't know what you're talking about. You didn't countersue here.
I don't know nothing about doing this countersuit or trying to sue somebody. I ain't never been in this kind of situation before.
All right. Well, so listen to me. Because you had a contested hearing, either party would have a right to say, I don't agree with what just happened there. I want you to appeal this to general civil. To appeal this to general civil in front of the district court judges, you must do that within 7 days of today's date. Your window of opportunity to appeal this further closes after that date. And secondly, you must do that in writing. It is not good enough to just request that orally. The parties understand their rights on appeal?
Yes.
That you can barely
All
read
right.
and write.
I already told him that.
Then we are all set here. I'm going to go ahead and dismiss parties. Thank you.
Well, hold on now. What do I got to pay?
So this guy here is a funny one. We got another one coming up next, but this is my second attempt at making my microphone work right. But so I guess he sold something and then decided he was going to give away half of it, and so it's a mess there. The next one, the woman's quite exciting. She tells the judge that she's recording him, and in Magistrate Norbeck's normal fashion, he just ignores what she said, and so you gotta love that. Since I was all garbled earlier, I just want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I appreciate it. Plenty of people here. Jay's on a trip. Jay went. She's on a trip, and last I talked to her, she was getting ready to get on a plane, so she's not gonna be able to make it tonight. So let's go on to the next one and see how that goes.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. You'll get a copy of the judgment in the mail.
How much is the judgment?
I just said that, sir. It's $2,605.05.
Returning his stuff.
Are they going to be returning all my stuff then? That they took out of my house? That they saying there's no value? That's the reason they really bought the stuff, because that all the stuff in the house.
Sir,
That's what they're after.
Were you listening at all? She said she did recover about $500 worth of useful things. I took that off the amount of money
That's not
that you
true.
would owe her.
There was a lot more stuff that they took out of the house worth more than $500.
All right, sir. We're all set. I'm going to go ahead and release you. Thank you.
So the judge.
Here today without attorneys. We're also not asking for this to be decided by a jury trial, but for this to be decided right here now in front of me. So if the parties are ready and willing to proceed without attorneys and with me as the decider of the outcome, then the first thing I would do, if we're ready to proceed, is swear you both in. What I mean by that is to raise your right hands. Ms. Rodriguez, I cannot see you, but I'd ask you to raise your right hand the same way that Ms. Logston is going to raise. Oh, there you go. Swear or affirm any testimony you give here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. Yes, sir.
All right. So I do think, as far as what I can tell, looking from the affidavit and claim here, that essentially what we're talking about, I think we touched base on this. Oh no, this is back to a motorcycle. So this is a motorcycle that parties agree, right, belongs to Miss Rodriguez. Miss Logston, you do not think the motorcycle belongs to you, correct?
No, it don't. It don't belong to
All right.
her because they went to court and my son has paid for it.
Yes,
They go
but the
tomorrow.
issue is the title of the bike is in your name, Miss Logston, and not Miss Rodriguez's.
She
Well,
wanted it in my name.
I know, I understand that. Miss Rodriguez, what is it?
I asked for it. Yes, sir. So we went to court back. I got it recorded. I record everything just like this is being recorded. I recorded you last week too, telling her she admitted it. That is my bike. We went to court with Scotchless. I took it to pre-trial. It's not about the collateral stuff. I borrowed my brother money.
Okay.
I
Miss
borrowed
Rodriguez?
$5,300. Yes, sir.
Miss Rodriguez, this is not about that lawsuit, all right? I understand what
Right.
happened in that lawsuit. What this lawsuit is
Right.
about, I'm trying to clarify, is this is your
And I'm trying to
motorcycle, but the title is
Yes,
in your
sir.
mother's name. All right.
Yes, for Social Security
But-
purposes. I asked her and I asked her to sign off it, but she
Okay,
won't.
Miss
She's saying
Rodriguez,
it's my brother.
please stop talking. All right. So it's your motorcycle and you were able to go get the motorcycle, correct, Miss Logston? You're not
Yes, sir.
preventing her from taking the motorcycle. All right. Then there is no damages here. There's no out-of-pocket expense that I could possibly pursue in small claims. It's your bike. She's not preventing you
Thank
from
you.
having or using your bike.
Okay, thank you. She sign off of it, please, and give me the title then, sir.
I
Because
can't
she's
make
tried to
her
get me
do
in
that.
trouble. But it is
Now,
my bike
are
and
you
I
guys
can ride it.
also in landlord-tenant court?
Yeah, I don't know
Miss
why for,
Logston,
but
are you
yeah.
in landlord-tenant court where you're trying to evict Miss Rodriguez?
Yes.
All right. Now, in landlord-tenant court, part of that eviction process is what happens to Miss Rodriguez's possessions. If you were to bring this up in front of the district court judge in landlord-tenant court, a district court judge can make Miss Logston do what's called specific performance, i.e. sign the title over to her. I can't make her do that. I can award you a money damages for out-of-pocket expenses, but you do not have any out-of-pocket damages here. We're all in agreement it's your motorcycle. You're able to take it, use it, ride it around. What you need is a very specific thing. You need her to sign the title back over to you. But that is specific performance. You would need to be in general civil or in landlord-tenant to have a district court judge order her to do that. I can't order her to do that. Does that make sense to both of you? Okay. So what I'm saying is there is a solution to your current problem. One solution is Miss Logston, you could just sign it over and you would be done with these lawsuits. Or two, you could bring it up as part of your landlord-tenant case as a possession of Miss Rodriguez's, the tenant, but Miss Logston still has some sort of control over it, i.e. the title, and you could resolve that in front of your landlord-tenant court, or Miss Logston, you could resolve this by signing that title over to her. But we can't proceed with it as a small claims case. It's not the appropriate venue. I just want to make sure that what I just explained makes sense to everybody, right?
Yeah, but they got to go to court tomorrow over it. The payments and
It's not
my
over
son
the
is gonna-
motorcycle.
See, I can't even.
It's not over the motorcycle. It's money. It's what he owes me. It's not over a motorcycle though, Janie.
And that is
I've been
between
telling
Miss
you.
Rodriguez and her brother. That's not what she needs
Right.
from you. What she needs from you is
How?
something different. All right. But I am going to go ahead and release parties. We don't need to be here for small claims on this particular
Thank you.
matter. That doesn't mean the matter is resolved. It just means, as I'm
Okay.
trying
It will
to
be.
explain to you guys, there are other more appropriate avenues for you guys to resolve this, right?
Yeah, there is.
All right. And I'm going to go ahead and release you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I love how this judge he just ignores what he doesn't want to hear and just lets it go. He's got a strong Judge Middleton vibe. You give him another 20, 30 years on the bench, he'll be there. See some new faces out there. Hey everybody, we've got some Thurston County ones, and we've got some Judge Fleischer. Um, a couple of the Thurston County ones are similar to last night. There's some language warnings and some be nice in the comments warnings. So we so I'll throw them up, and like I said, I don't like editing. I don't like editing what people say. If someone says it in court, I feel like editing it is taking away what they're saying. Um, I just thought about I need to get with Miss Rodriguez and tell her I can get her a copy of this clip. She ain't gotta record it with her phone. So let's jump into a Thurston County one. They got a couple of interesting ones there. Let's see how it goes.
You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You can put your hand down. Hang on just a second. So how is it you need, I've reviewed the things that were filed, both from you and Mr. Rosenstein. Frankly, this seems to be more of a property dispute rather than harassment. So go ahead, Mr. Shearling, I'll hear from you. How is it you need an order against Mr. Rosenstein?
Mr. Rosenstein has he's tried violence, get me to fight him, bullying me, pushing dirt around my area, walking across my property, yelling and screaming obscene names for my daughter. He's really, and I've been on vacation, so I haven't heard much from him since I've gotten back.
Okay, we're going to need to be a little bit more specific about, because I've read what he's kind of saying the same thing about you. And so what specifically is the issue out there? It seems to me like the issue is a dispute over who has rights to what property, which can't be decided here. That needs to be decided by a superior court judge. That seems to be the genesis of the conflict.
Yes, it does, Your Honor. I realize that. It's just him sitting out here yelling and screaming when he feels like it, and yelling names and calling my daughter names and everybody else names, and the whole neighborhood hears him. And then he's tried to punch me, kick me in the face, and all sorts of stuff. You should have the little videos of that.
I wasn't able to view the video for whatever reason. I was looking at this and my service wouldn't let me. Let me hear from Mr. Riesenstein. Mr. Riesenstein, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
You can put your hand down. Give me just a second here. Go ahead. What's your response to what you just heard from Mr. Shearling?
Well, we sent you testimony. I'm sure you've sent.
I have,
you've read that. So a lot of the information is in there that I would want to say, but I will say that he had a surveyor come out a couple years here later, just after he filed this original order. The surveyors were at his property a couple days later. I don't know what the findings are.
Just in June?
Yes, he had a survey come out finally, but we had a survey done and we had it recorded. So that survey is real. I have never trespassed. He just doesn't want to talk to us about it. His pit bulls come out, chase my wife off, trying to put the garbage can out. which they don't have garbage service. I don't know what they do with their garbage, but anyway, we're just tired of the theft. There's been listed in there, there's been stealing going on. Every confrontation that has happened with Mr. Sherling has been due to his acts, either trespassing on our property, his dogs, or theft. The police reports are there to back it up. We just want it. The end result is we want to stay on property. We want him to stay on his property, and that's where we want to leave it.
Mr. Shearling, what's your
Yes.
response to what you just heard from Mr. Riesenstein?
As far as the theft, the police were here the day that we called him on the incident that he brandished a gun and was waving it around and threatening us. That's after that was before he put 2 posts in the ground right beside my bedroom window that day while I was sitting there watching TV, about to get ready to take a shower. I looked over at him. He smiled at me through the window as he was driving post in the ground. And he was just smiled. And so the theft occurred when I went out there and pulled the post out of the ground, brought him up, laid him next to the sidewalk. And then the police came out and were asking questions about the post. And I told them I didn't have them. And they were right next to their feet. And I just looked at them. I go, yeah, they're right there. And that's the incidence of the thieving.
And if I'm reading your materials you submitted, Mr. Riesenstein, this was a BB gun used to shoo off the dogs. That was the extent of the gun incident?
Correct.
Okay.
And Your Honor, those dogs have never chased his wife ever. They barely even leave the yard.
Okay. Go ahead there, Mr. Riesenstein. Okay. Did you hear that? Mr. Shearling, did you hear what Mr. Riesenstein said?
No.
He said that's not true, basically. Okay.
I don't know what to, I don't understand how to answer that. It's just, I'm not going to sit here and call him a liar and he called me a liar back and forth and back and forth. So I'm not doing that. He knows the truth and that's all it is to it.
Right.
May I say one more thing, Your Honor?
Sure.
There's been a considerable amount of theft. Logs.
What other things?
Cones, logs, stakes. He pulled survey stakes out the day the surveyors were there. He went and pulled all of our stakes out. He stole my construction cones. He has taken a bed frame we were going to use to make a homemade screener for screening our topsoil. He has harassed us and my wife, and we have wrote that down in there. The police reports to back it up with the logs.
Okay. So, Mr. Shearling, did you hear that?
Yeah, something about a bed frame that I've never ever seen and cones that I've never ever seen. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Survey stakes.
I think that's survey stakes. I never pulled one up as of yet.
Okay. So, did I just lose power? This thing will tell me. Okay, there we go. I just hit the thing. So, just a minute. I'm having technical difficulties here. I got it.
Okay.
Okay. So again, this comes from me before with regard to an anti-harassment order. You've heard the definition of the harassment, and as I listened to the testimony, reviewed the filings in the case, these are two neighbors that are in conflict, definitely, but I don't find that it rises to the level of harassment. It's this conflict over what property is where and who's able to do what with where they live. I did see in the files or in the submissions of Mr. Rosenstein, a letter from attorney to Mr. Schuyling, who indicated, you know, you may have adversely possessed, which might be true, but if you guys can't agree on, and apparently you can't, on where the property lines are and who has a proper easement and so forth, you're going to need to get that sorted out by a judge, a superior court judge. I can't, you know, anything I do here, if I grant an order or not, it's not going to resolve the issues that confronts you two. It's the issue is where that property line is. So I heard Mr. Shearling that you had a survey done, but I'm not going to ask you what your intention is with that, but you folks either need to work this out from yourselves or get a superior court judge to work it out for you. But I'm not going to enter an order at this time. I just, like I said before, not all neighbor conflict rises to the level of harassment. And yeah, you guys don't like each other. You have trouble getting along, but at this point, I'm not going to enter an order. I don't find that it rises to the level of harassment. And so you both are free to leave the Zoom call. You're free to leave the Zoom call. Mr. Riesenstein, you're free to go.
Oh, go ahead. I think the most fun about this is after they leave there, they still have to go home and be neighbors with each other. I could just imagine having to talk to my neighbors and deal with that on a daily basis. So should we go to another Thurston or should we go to Judge Fleischer for a little bit? Everybody except for Victoria gets to vote on it. Discord is confusing for the first 10 minutes. After you do the first 10 minutes, it's easy to figure it out. Just kind of go in there and wander around some. There's another channel called Court Vibes. Somebody will throw up the invite for that one there. It's awesome. This courtroom is always interesting. Law Talk with Mike, it was probably a year ago, made a comment about they're doing all they can to get their membership at the Holiday Inn Express Club, you know, using their conference rooms for a courtroom, and they continue to use it. And so, it's neat. It's neat watching them do court in a conference room like that. I'm not sure I see that too many other places. Well, it looks like Fleischer's winning there. It looks like Victoria voted about 30 times. So we're gonna go ahead and go to Judge Fleischer, and this is from Today with Judge Fleischer. He had I don't know how to say it. He just had a hell of a first 30 minutes to an hour of his docket. Everybody wanted to argue with him, and he handled it like a champ. But I don't know what gets into people sometimes. Here we go.
Page 14 and 15, Proctor, come on up.
I mean, where did nice go? You know, why can't you be nice? It's not hard. Good morning, sir. What's your name?
Good morning, Dylan Proctor.
What's last name? Mr. Proctor, you're charged with interference with the interference with the emergency request for assistance. You're also charged with assault bodily injury. You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine on each of those cases. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you, sir.
On June 29, 2024, officer responded to a disturbance call in Harris County, Texas. Officer met with a defendant who stated that she was assaulted by her cousin at her residence. The cousin was later identified by her Texas driver's license, or by his Texas driver's license, as Dylan Proctor White. The complainant stated that she was using the restroom when the defendant came into the residence and began banging on the restroom door. The complainant stated that she got up and opened the door and the defendant was angry at her. The complainant stated that the defendant got in her face and told her that their grandma needed to use the restroom. The complainant stated that she didn't know, and the defendant got more upset and began punching the complainant several times. The complainant stated that she put her arms up to block the punch from hitting her face, and she told the defendant that she was going to call the police, to which the defendant grabbed her phone and prevented her from calling the police. The complainant stated that their grandpa came in and broke up the disturbance. The complainant stated the defendant left the scene with the grandpa and the grandma. The complainant stated that she felt pain and discomfort during and after the assault. The complainant also had redness on her right arm.
Okay. Now, can you tell me what kind of criminal history Mr. Proctor White has? Is he on probation or parole?
So I see, it looks like a burglary of a motor vehicle from 2017, an unlawful carry of a weapon. Activity.
Mr. Proctor, I'm going to find that there's probable cause to go forward on both cases. I'm now issuing a protective order. Why are you looking over there? There's no reason for you to look over there. You look at me. Do you understand?
I understand. I'm just waiting on you to tell me it's my turn.
You start acting the fool while you're out there in the free world. I'm going to take the free world away from you, Mr. Parker. Mr. Proctor, do you understand me?
I hate that we met on these terms, John.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, I hate that we met on these terms. You only have assumptions about me.
One more, I'm going to put you in jail. You understand? You will respect me, you will respect the court, and I don't need any superfluous argument out of you. I'm ordering you now as a condition of your bond not to consume illegal drugs, any kind of dope, any kind of alcohol, and I'm ordering you not to be in possession of weapons. I'm also ordering you as a condition of your bond not to have any contact with this complaining witness. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
I will do everything in my power to protect every single person of Harris County. And if that means locking you up, I'll do it in a heartbeat. What do you do for a living?
I own a construction business.
How much money do you make a month?
I was making up to probably about $3,000 to $4,000 a month. But now, since these false allegations have been brought up against me, now I have been displaced from my home. That's my home. And other things of that nature that go around those things, that go with my address and all the people that with my business, my grandfather, other people that helped me with my business. Those people have been stripped away from me as it was supposed to be. If you look up on the call records and the police call records, you'll see that she called the police over 70 times since 2020.
Get there. I understand that there's always two sides to the story.
But I just wanted to let you know that and the probation that she brought up also, that was deferred. And I completed that.
There's always two sides to the story.
Sure.
I get it. And
For sure.
I'm asking you these questions now to determine whether you can hire your own lawyer or not. That's why I'm asking you these questions. Are you still working?
No, I can't do anything because all the things that were structured around like I said, my family and my business have been stripped away because you and other people have told me that I can't be around my family. And I
say family. I said this complaining witness.
I'm sorry, but my paperwork, my pretrial paperwork, it says her or any relatives of this victim. That's what it says. So I want to be accurate and I don't want to go against any rules of the court.
I'm with you. Let's do this. I'll provide your lawyer today. The only thing I want to know is I want to make sure that this complaining witness is protected. That's all I want. And that's all. Stop. I want you to listen. That's all I want. So I will provide your lawyer today. And then I'm going to have the state reach out to the complaining witness and to see who all wants to have contact with you. And then whoever does, then we can modify the order to that liking. All I'm telling you now, don't smoke dope. Don't pick up any new cases. Otherwise, I will put you in jail. You got out of jail because we gave you a free bond. You will not get another one. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I need you to, well, I already have an application on file, so I'm gonna have you sign a reset with Victoria. I'll have you take a seat and just hang tight. All right? Don't leave until you sign our bond conditions, though.
Oh,
Please.
Page 17.
I know.
Come on
You,
up.
it's a cousin, but you charged it as a garden variety assault.
I saw that.
And because I really would like to do a MOP in this case. But no family member allegation. What do you think about that?
Well, so on the law language that we visited, any offense involving family violence, and we looked at the family violence definition, which could be assault. So it's valid, but it's not, the cleanest, but it's valid. It's a valid law if you issue it.
Steve, sir.
Okay, can you file it for me, please? You mind? Vic, who's this?
Page 16, Segura.
Good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, you're charged with criminal mischief. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you. Okay. 252-6358. Segura. Two 252-6358. It could be. I mean, a lot of people have aliases. It's a criminal mischief, right?
On August 27, 2024, officers were dispatched to a criminal mischief in progress at an apartment complex in Harris County, Texas. While en route to the location, the caller had admitted to breaking the window. Officer arrived on the scene and made contact with the defendant. The complainant on the scene stated that he and the defendant had been in a previous dating relationship for 1 year. The complainant stated that he had texted the defendant for her to bring his daughter because he had not seen her in 2 weeks. The complainant stated that the defendant had arrived. The complainant stated that the defendant had arrived in his apartment and gave him his daughter. The complainant stated that the defendant showed him a photo of hydrocodone and that she appeared to be under the influence of something like that. The complainant stated that when the defendant went back outside of his apartment unit, he closed and locked the door. The complainant stated that the defendant used a screwdriver to try and break open the lock to his apartment front door. The complainant stated the defendant then broke his apartment window next to his front door. The defendant also crawled through the window and entered his apartment without his permission. The complainant states that he told the defendant several times to leave his apartment and she refused. The complainant stated his window was valued at $100. The complainant had cell phone video footage of the defendant breaking the window and entering. Black pliers with a blue handle were recovered at the scene. In the cell phone video, the pliers were seen in the defendant's hand when she broke the window and entered the apartment.
Very lucky you're not charged with a felony burglary of a habitation. Let me tell you. I'm going to find that there's criminal mischief, that there's probable cause to go forward with your case. I'm ordering you now as a condition of your bond not to consume alcohol, illegal drugs, or unprescribed controlled medication. I'm going to randomly test you. If I find that you're using, I will put you in jail. You will not get any more PR bonds. Do you understand? I'm now entering what's called a magistrate's order for emergency protection that identifies Joe Warren Curtis as a protected individual. You cannot commit family violence or an assault against this person, commit an act in furtherance of an offense under section 42.072 of the Texas Penal Code because it's a stalking statute. You cannot threaten, harass, use another person to communicate a threat or harassing behavior. You cannot go within 200 feet of where he lives or where he works. Do you understand? If you violate this, the state will file additional charges against you, and then you're looking at a lot more time. I see that you have a lawyer. I will waive your appearance, but it's your responsibility to stay in touch with Mr. Coyne. You do have a lawyer, correct?
Jimmy said it because he has a lot of stuff going right now.
Okay, just stay in touch with him and he will tell you when you have to come back to court. If he tells me that you're AWOL and you're not responding to phone calls, text messages, I will issue a warrant.
I have my newborn baby there. I have the messages to prove that he told me to go over there so we communicate.
Stop. Just talk to Mr. Coyne. He will help you out. And he'll navigate this for you. I've got a bunch of DAs here. Everything you say, they're just going to use it against you. So now is not the best time. Okay. All I'm asking you to do is don't pick up any new cases and just stay away from this person.
I need my daughter. How would you feel as a newborn daughter? Somebody that does those pills, and I have pictures, and I have a private investigator.
Go to the family court. Don't take matters into your own hands because you're the one that's going to end up in jail. But if you go to family court, you present that evidence, you'll get the baby. The right way to do it is to go to the family court. All the money you're going to spend doing here, all this money that you're going to spend hiring Mr. Coyne and doing all this, that, if you would have hired yourself a family lawyer, would have gotten custody. And then when they start to mess with you, that judge will hold them in contempt or put them in jail or whatnot. Okay. You're not, did you hear anything that I just said? I know that you're trying to tell me something, the wheels are turning, but are you listening?
I'm listening, but you telling me I can't go around there? My newborn is there. That's who's been with me since day one.
This person. If you want to get your baby, do it the right way, but don't have contact with this person. That's it.
He has contact with me. It's my phone.
Don't answer the phone. Don't answer text. I will put you in jail. I hope you listen. Talk to Mr. Coyne. He can help you navigate this thing. But what you need to do is you need to get your a custody order, or if he's got custody, get a visitation. Every mother, every father should have access to their own child, no matter what. I don't care. Doesn't matter. You should have access, but you have to do it the right way. And that's getting either a visitation order or a custody order through the family courts. That's the way to do it. For now, I'm going to have you go to Victoria, sign and reset. After that, I'm going to have you take your seat in the jury box while we get your bond conditions. Do not leave until you get your bond conditions. Otherwise, I'll issue a warrant.
Page 17, Torrance, come on up.
So we're going to need pretrial on both of those. Yeah. Okay. What page did you say?
17.
Okay.
Torrance.
Good morning. Ms. Torrance, you're charged with driving while intoxicated, second offense. You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present during questions and interviews. If you cannot afford a lawyer will be appointed to represent you, ma'am. Okay.
August 27, 2024, officers were dispatched to a crash at the intersection of 1400 Gessner Road. Defendant rear-ended the witness's truck at a red light. The defendant stated she only smoked some weed, a gram or so, before driving. The officer observed very poor balance, stumbling, swaying, and trouble walking. The officer observed a mild odor of alcoholic beverage, dilated pupils, glassy eyes, and slurred, slow speech. The defendant was also giggling and having difficulty keeping her eyes open. The officer conducted standard field sobriety tests, which observed 6 out of 6 clues on HGN, 7 out of 8 on walk and turn, and 3 out of 4 on one-leg swing. Inventory of the vehicle revealed a small 1.7 ounce empty bottle of a liquor bottle with a 15% alcohol level in the middle of the back seat. The DIC-24 was read and the defendant consented to a blood sample. And that's it.
And I'm gonna find that there's probable cause to go forward with the case. You have a valid Texas driver license.
No, Your Honor.
I want you to know, Ms. Torrance, that I don't think anything irks me more than when a person drives without a license. And if I find that you do, I will have a contempt hearing because I'm gonna have you sign an affidavit with me today, promising me that you're not gonna drive. If I find that you drive, every single time that you drive, I will have a contempt hearing and you'll be facing 6 months in jail and a $500 fine every time you drive. So if you drive 5 times, I will have 5 different contempt hearings. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Until you have a license and a Texas driver license and liability insurance, do not drive. Because this is a second offense, I'm ordering you to also obtain a handheld interlock device that you're going to take with you everywhere you go to prove to me that you're not consuming alcohol.
Okay.
I'm sending you now for a drug test. I want to know what, if anything, is in your system. Something is going on with you, man, because you just were convicted of a DWI and now you're on your second. And the problem is that you leave a wake of destruction in your path. No more. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
What do you do for a living, man? Where?
Pablo.
Did you graduate from high school?
Your Honor.
Okay. I'm gonna have you come up here, swear to us that you're not gonna drive. After that, I'm gonna get you to Victoria sign a receipt. I will provide you a lawyer today, ma'am, but I'm sending you for a drug test. You must come back. If you do not come back, I will issue a warrant and make your bond so high, your head will spontaneously combust. Do you understand? Please.
Your Honor, I have Robert Martinez on the docket. This is that fella that we put on BIP, and you wanted him to check in every 4 weeks.
Okay.
I sent you the email this morning, Pavel. It's on Robert Martinez.
This is not an email that he's just showing us what he's learned, right? That he's actually.
Same thing as we did the last 2.
Yeah, I need some kind of proof that he's actually enrolled and how far he's done with the classes and how much time he's got left.
Look at the email first.
Yeah.
Check. This is what we used last 2 times.
No, where is he here now?
Here, you talked to him the last time as well. You wanna
No,
talk
I
to
want to
him?
know how many classes he has left and what,
You want to have, come on.
Please.
Afternoon, Judge.
Where's the proof that you're enrolled into these classes?
Proof?
Proof, correct. You're
emailed
supposed to be doing, okay, your email showing me what you've learned, that's not enough. I need proof that you actually enrolled, you've paid for the enrollment, how many classes that you've done. That's what I'd like. I mean, take your time. There's no rush, Mr. Martinez. If you want to just stand down and take a look.
I gotta get to work, man, so it's kind of a rush for me.
Get it done.
I got you. I can show you this right here.
Right here, look, we're logging into it right here.
This is online core classes right here, boss.
And don't call me boss. Just a little respect, man.
That is a respect thing, Your Honor.
So where are you at now?
12. Well, I was told to finish till this court date. 3 more from the last one, same thing again.
Say that again?
3 more from the last
time we
court
were here?
date, the same thing.
3 more cases.
3 more classes, 3 more course classes till this court date again.
How many more we got? 6?
And then I think 6 more here. You said it was an 18-week course
You're supposed to do one
each week. Yes, sir.
Correct?
3 of them don't have answers till this
And
week.
last time you were here was 8-7.
Sir.
So now we're at 9-4.
Yeah, the questions to go by 3 now. So like every course you have to just read it, and then the next week read another course, and then the end of the 3rd week you answer the questions. That's what I
Able
did.
to do it quicker?
I'm not sure. They told me to go week by week, so I'm just doing what they told me to do.
Because we went to it from a 12-week
Yeah,
program because you didn't like the 12-week, and now we went to an 18-week.
Are you required to take a test?
No, sir. It's just like opinionized questions. Like how would you react basically from what you learn from the courses? So opinionized basically. There's no multiple choice answers.
Well, you've seen this, right? You're okay with this?
Yes, Judge, because at the end, they'll get a certificate, but what he's stating in the summaries is consistent.
Have you seen, you've seen
I have
this?
read through all of them. Yes, sir.
Okay, you're okay with it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it too. All right, so let's set it up 5 weeks. And then he'll have, yeah, 1 per week, correct, right, so.
I understand that, but if you only have 6 more weeks to do, why don't we make him come back at 6 rather than 5, and then we have to have him come back
6 more weeks.
because he has 6 more classes.
6 more courses, boss.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
18-week course. I'm on week 12. There's 6 more weeks, 6 more courses to go through.
I mean, but there's 52 lessons though. How does that, I don't understand how that translates.
So we do 18 weeks.
Pavel, this doesn't, no, it's. No, but I'm telling you, there's, here it shows 52 lessons. He's only done 12 of 52. So you're not gonna get a certificate here. Just show them real quick, just so you see. I don't think you're gonna get, yeah, but I don't think, you're not gonna get a certificate after just 18.
Hold on, if you don't know, if you're not part of this company, how do you know that? How do you know that to be true?
Because if he's telling me he's doing 1 lesson per week and he's done 18
Find out whether
there's 52 lessons.
Let me find out if there's whether there's that many lessons for that. I mean, we're just finding out now.
I don't know. Take a look. Alan.
Judge, we have my clients out here.
Ready?
Thank you.
Or, where's Amy? Okay.
Amy's here.
Step forward for me.
Judge, we have Mr. Adrian Powell and Mr. John Towns here. They're both on fugitive cases, IBS.
So who is Mr. Powell? Okay, and you are Mr. Towns. Guys, I don't know who you are. I've never met you before. The only way I really get to know you is how you look on paper. I'm going to tell you that both of you guys are inherent flight risks because you're wanted out of different jurisdictions. And so you're asking me to set you a bond so that you can go turn yourselves in elsewhere. But I don't know, because I don't know anything about you. I don't know what you're charged with. We're going to get into that now. And I'm going to tell you, if you're a dangerous person, probably not going to happen, but we'll get there. So
Judge, state is asking for no bond on both of the cases. Which case would you like to start?
let's start with Powell, alphabetical.
Order in the board.
Powell was wanted from Avoyelles Parish, Louisiana. He's wanted for felony battery of a dating partner and second-degree battery. And he has 2 local issues for felony possession of a weapon and unlawful carrying of a weapon. He's got an extensive criminal history with Louisiana. I will note second-degree battery, guilty out 2014. He was arrested for attempted first-degree murder in 2019 from Louisiana at one point.
You're a dangerous dude, man. I know it's little bunny jumping in the woods.
College, I promise. I work on the railroad. I'm a dredge worker, plant worker. That's just debt to society. I have to pay, But the case that I got going on and out there in the balls right now, the chief of police will tell you if you were to get access to them and tell them everything. There's an affidavit, it was just an altercation with me and my ex, my ex-fiance.
So what happened on that first-degree murder, or what was that?
It was an attempted first-degree murder.
What happened on that case? What happened on that case?
I don't have any more information beyond just the arrest, but he was arrested with 5 other charges at that time as well.
Oof.
The other charge.
Sorry, dude. Too much baggage, man.
Judge, if I may.
Oh, okay, sure.
Well, just to be clear, Judge, there's what she's talking about is in the past. He's paid his debt to society. The argument for a bond would be, can he make the bond? Is first. Second is the public safety insured. There's alternatives that can be made to ensure public safety besides keeping them in jail.
So, you're probably not allowed to have weapons, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So not only do you wanted out of Louisiana for a battery of a dating partner and second-degree battery, but you must have been out in the free world because now you've picked up an unlawful carrying of a weapon, which you're in court one.
That was before.
And then, that was last year. And then while on bond, you pick up another felon in possession of a weapon. And you've got 2 outstanding charges. And you want me to set you a bond?
There wasn't no weapon charges. I picked those 2 weapon charges up as I paid my debt to society. Then I was living, I actually have no addresses that I was currently living in.
And you're gonna have an eternal debt to society, dude. The way things are, the way you've been handling it, it's eternal, man.
Like I told you, I'm just a working man. I apologize. I mean, if you're not gonna accept it, that's cool with me. I mean, I apologize for even wasting your time. But I know I'm capable of. You look at me how you look at me, but I'm not gonna classify myself.
Told
as
you.
I know.
Get out here, you tell me it's little bunnies jumping in the woods, but when we get to know you on paper,
Yeah, that's cool.
you're a totally different person, man.
I mean, the world not gonna look at me. You guys only gonna look at me like that because I know who I am in my heart, and I'm a fan of God, just like like yourself.
I got you, man.
But I mean,
I hope
that's
God
cool.
lets me get the winning lottery numbers. So,
This is Mr. John Towns, Judge.
hey, Mr. Towns, what's Mr. Towns want us for?
He's wanted from 2 different counties. One
Sure.
for Horry County, South Carolina, for robbery, stealing from a person who's using a bank night depository, ATM or another, and then conspiracy, criminal conspiracy. And then the second, the second county he's wanted from is Washington County, Arkansas, for failure to appear for a death by receiving, which has a 100K bond.
Right, so Mr. Towns, you picked up a failure to identify oneself while you're being a fugitive from justice, an unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, and then you take flight in that unauthorized use. And now you're wanted for 2 different charges out of 2 different counties in Florida.
Arkansas and South Carolina.
And you got charges in 2 different states. Man, you're playing hopscotch with the states. Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Florida. Stops now. Sorry, guys. It's too much baggage. I can't do it.
You would consider any amount of bond?
No, man. Where we gonna hopscotch to next? Hawaii?
Understood, Judge. I'll
No.
talk to Mr. Towns about the options. And,
Thanks. Sorry, guys. It's time to pay the piper.
All right, gentlemen, come on this way.
Appreciate it.
Alan.
Judge,
Oh,
may I
hey.
approach?
Yeah, come on up.
I have something simple. It's Murillo. Andrew is on the docket.
Okay.
I submitted the application for the PTI yesterday. He's doing his T-Res right now, I believe.
Right. We'll set
So-
you off for just a couple weeks.
That's fine.
Or, I mean, your case is early, so you can have whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get, I had to do
Yeah.
a mitigation packet, submitted it Monday, it's approved. So
Okay.
everything's good.
Whatever you want.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yeah. So, yeah, let me see. Pavel, what do you decide with that 52 week? Is it 52 card pickup? Are you sure? Okay, because there's 52 lessons. He's only done 12.
I know, but when I was looking at the course and the way the lessons are structured, he needs 5 weeks to complete it, so I said 5 weeks, so it's done. What offers, yeah.
Trinidad, if he doesn't have it done by then, though, that's it. It's 300 days, so he's got to have it done by the 5 weeks. Otherwise, I'm setting him for trial. Please let him know. If you don't have it done, you're set for trial. Okay.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm working on behalf of Kiana Washington.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Washington.
She was out on bond. She did pick up a couple cases.
Let's see. So, Ms. Washington, you were on bond in our court for criminal mischief. You've picked up a unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, evading in that motor vehicle, and then you also picked up an aggravated robbery. Oof. What would you like to do? What happened in the ag rob, Ms. Davis, please? For Ms. Washington.
Martinez,
Did she shoot someone?
So on this 28th, since you were the defendant committed aggravated robbery and arrest, the defendant forcibly took the car from an 80-year-old man in the city's apartment.
From an 80-year-old man?
Yes, struck the complainant with the clothes multiple times in the face and body and told him she had a gun, drove recklessly, observed crossing 3 lanes of traffic, struck another vehicle, drove on the wrong side of the road.
Oh, Lord.
With speeds up to 98 miles per hour and led police on a high-speed chase for approximately 5 miles before fleeing on foot.
If you had hit and killed someone, guess who gets charged with murder? Miss Washington. And it's funny. It's sad. I'm setting the bond at the same amount as the case is upstairs. She's a complete danger to society. So
Your Honor, the case upstairs bond is at 50,000. We believe that is kind of high for her. Can we do 15 to 20,000 compared to the $50,000 bond she has upstairs?
I'm all right with that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sure. Ma'am, if you were released, I'm ordering you to undergo home confinement with a GPS monitor. You know, don't we have enough death in Harris County as it is? Isn't there enough?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks.
Hi, Judge. I have Arlene Segura.
Yeah.
He's in the jury box.
I just said no contact with the complaining witness, no weapons, no dope, no alcohol. She was saying that she has a child with this other person now, and
Yes.
I don't know if that person has custody.
There is nothing in place. I told her to go through the legal route to get instead of this way because the complaining witness has been a TDC for prior family violence and he has a long rap sheet along with my client, you know. So I said, this court can't help you with that. You just got to follow what you suggest. And I would say if she wants to try to get her child back to.
So what? Come up. Come on.
To go either through family, if the court's okay with it, like maybe her mother, to contact the CW, something, or.
Ms. Segura, if you go through that route, like what Frank's telling you about, I bet you'll get the child. But you have to do it the right way. Go to the family court, and if you apply for custody, I bet you'll get it. But if you have to do it the right way. Don't just go over there and try to take it, because then you're going to go to jail. If you do it the right way, then if he's telling me that's true, that he's been to the pen, he's got that long ass rap sheet, I bet you're going to get the child. You just got to do it the right way. You know?
I apologize earlier. I just got emotional.
I get it. And every parent should have access to their child. I mean, doesn't matter who wears the pants, doesn't matter who's working, who's doing what. Every parent should have access to their child because they need it. That child needs a mom, you know? They need a mom, they need a dad, because that's how a flower blooms. So otherwise, what happens? A flower will wilt, grow in a deformed way, and you don't want that. But do it the right way. You've got a great lawyer. He'll help you out. Just listen to him and stay in communication. I'll waive your appearance. As long as you don't use any kind of dope or alcohol, as long as you just don't pick up new cases, you'll be fine with us.
I'm very sweet, sir.
She just needs to meet with pretrial to do the conditions, and then she's good to go.
All right, thank you, Judge.
Whatever you guys need.
All right, thank you so much.
Have Trennis here. He's going to work out your bond conditions, and then after that, you'll be free to go, man. Okay? All right. Thanks, Judge.
So this morning, Kathy had a good show on this morning. If anybody hadn't seen Court Vibes is live from this morning, they need to go back and watch it. This morning she had a great divorce case on there, and she got me to go back and watch it. And as I was watching it, the husband and wife are arguing with each other, and the husband asked the wife about what medicine she was on, and the wife just has an outburst, and she's like, "Well, I was on all that medicine because of you." Well, my wife was in the passenger seat of the truck, and she just looks over at me and she's like, "I felt that one." Oh, my wife said she felt that one. She knows exactly what that woman was talking about. So y'all go back and watch that. That was a funny one. Um, here's another Thurston County one.
Okay, so we have a number of cases here. First of all, and again, I want to make sure I know Linda Stroop, that's you, ma'am?
Yes.
And that's you, Ms. Bigelow, in the middle, and then you're Mickey Stroop.
And I may need to stand sometimes I have some back issues, so.
That's fine,
the reason I'm
absolutely. Do
standing.
whatever you need to do to make
Thank you.
yourself most comfortable. And then here we have Michael and Vicky here. So initially, Linda Struble asked for an order in 24-285 against Mike and Vicky Hare. And then on case 2488, 24-288, 24-289, and 24-290, Michael and Vicky Hare have asked for separate orders against Ms. Bigelow, Ms. Linda Struble, and Ms. Mickey Struble. And so I guess since Linda Struble, okay, I guess we'll go in this order here. So I'll hear from Linda Struble first. She's a petitioner and then I'll hear from the Hares in response. They can address, and then I'll hear from them all with regard to in response to Linda Struble's request for a protection order. I'll hear from them also on their request for no contact order against the other three folks. And so, Linda Struble, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm? Do you swear and affirm that information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So help me God.
You may put your hand down. And how is it? You also, this is another neighbor, which we actually see all too often, I should say. This is a neighbor situation as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you live next door to the Hares there?
Yes.
So how is it that you need an order against the Hares? Tell me what's been going on that, and again, you heard me, I think, give the definition of harassment. How is it that what the Hares are doing is harassing you?
Well, it started quite some time ago in 2019. So all of that we had hoped to have settled by the previous manager of the park where we live, the mobile home park. We live very close.
You live next to each other? Or are you
Yes.
adjoining lots? What's the issue? Tell me what's been going on.
Well, they don't like the way that that the trees or branches or bushes or anything go over onto their property. And for the past few years, 6 years, well, I haven't talked to them in 6 years, they would call the property manager, not property manager, but the park manager, and she would call me and say I needed to trim all the bushes.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been appeasing them to do that, even though we couldn't even go on their property. So I'd have to get someone else to go over and do that. Well, when we became a co-op and we had a professional property management, they called them as about 3 weeks after bought the place, we all bought the park, and complained to them, just like they had the previous manager, that they wanted the bushes trimmed. And the park meant the Gateway, the new property management company, called and asked me, did I give the permission? And I said, of course, they've always had permission to trim on their side. Well, they were not happy that they would have to do trimming. Previously, I had to pay for 5 or 6 years of having someone do it and haul it off and do all the, and I had the maintenance person most of the time go over there because I didn't want to have any issues, and that way, but now that we don't have that maintenance person anymore. Oh, I don't know. There's been a lot
Take
of
your time.
things.
We have all morning. It's just a case or two left.
So as soon as Gateway called them back and said, yes, you have permission, not too long after that, a couple of days, I was out in my backyard and he yelled over the fence. I can't even say the things that they say without using profanity, or I can.
Well, you can, how about if you use like the first letter of the
Okay.
word that you,
So he said, he yelled at me. I was out in the yard. He yelled at me, cut your own GD, SI, SH, whatever. And it just startled me. So I didn't respond at all. I just went in the house. So anyway, he didn't like the idea that he had to trim things on his side. So not too long after that, I get home and I was having a nice day, and it was, I think, on the 20th, I started writing this down. I have my notes here. So I didn't hear anything, just some loud yelling and fighting and stuff that was the normal for them. But on the 17th, I came home.
was that fighting
and-
between the two of them? Was that fighting directly
Yes,
to you?
the two of them. It's always at that.
I
had
just
been
wanted to
between
know
the
whether
two
that
of
was
them.
directly. Go ahead, you make it.
And in fact, they do a lot of that.
Okay, well, that's not germane to
No,
whether or not you're
that's
entitled
not.
to an order. So I
I
want to know
know.
what your interaction has been with them.
Right. So on the 17th of August, no, on the 20th, I think it was the 20th of June, I get out there, I go outside and we came home from, went to the casino and came home, and I looked outside and there was this pile of branches over onto my side of the fence. And it had crushed my flowers out there and knocked over my bird bath thing and statue and some of my solar lights. And it was just piled with branches. So I came in and I called Gateway. I had my friend, and she's also a board member.
Is that the woman in back there?
Yes.
Okay, continue on.
And she and her husband helped me take the branches off because there were quite a few, and brought them back. And I called because that was what I was supposed to do, is have a board member know and then call property management if you had any problems. So I've cleaned that all up, and I thought, and I understood that Gateway, the property management, had called and said, it's not throw the debris over on the other person's property. It was over a 6-foot fence. So it was all like, came down onto my plants and crushed some bushes. So then, let me see. So then that was in June. And then in August, I came home and there were more bushes, there were more branches and things over the fence. And I know that they had already been asked not to do by Gateway. And I came home and there were branches all over in my plants again. So I put them over the fence. This is a 6-foot fence, so I can barely reach, but I put them back. I thought, no, they shouldn't be put on my side. and destroying my property again. So I thought it was solved. I called Gateway. I talked to Pam, one of the board members. And I thought that that would take care of it. I get up Sunday morning, the next day at 8 o'clock, and I open up, that's my main view of my backyard from my front room window. And I got up and they were all back over again. So I went back out and I started putting them over the fence. And they must have seen me from their porch, and Vicky was like, okay, I'll take care of this. And she started throwing them back over. And and there was a lot of profanity going on. From the porch, I was hearing F you, F you, F you, and BITCH and all these things. And it just, so I realized, oh, and she said we could do this all day, because I kept trying to put them back. And it just got to be so that I knew she said that it wasn't going to stop. So I just took some of the branches and took them to the very backyard where it couldn't keep dumping onto my plants. And I put them over the lower fence. Well, she came running around the side of the house and started throwing them back. So I just left them there and went inside. And meanwhile, she was just standing there shaking. She was so angry. And so, and I told her I would call the police, and she said, call and see what happens. So I was upset, and I went in and called my daughter and said, this has happened for the third time now. And so then she came right over, because she lives in the park also. She's been there about 2 years to help, especially since I had cancer surgery about 3 years ago. She's moved into the park to help with different things for me. And she came over and parked in front of their house on the street, went onto the sidewalk in front of their house, and they had come running down and started yelling and screaming and cussing at her. And she said, I want you not to keep harassing my mother. And she knew that I was being upset. And then they asked her to get off the property, but she was not. She was just on the sidewalk. So she came back over. I had never gone onto their property ever in all these years. We didn't talk for 6 years after the first.
I'm going to stop you, and I'm going to thank you. I'm going to swear in, I guess, which one of the Hares wishes to speak? Mr. Hare. I'll hear from him in response to what you have told me. Then he's asking for orders against you and your daughter and Ms. Bigelow. I'll ask him why he wants those orders. Then I'll get a response from Ms. Bigelow and you, ma'am, the younger Struble. So, Mr. Hare, could you raise your right hand, please? You swear and affirm that information testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you put your hand down. You've heard what she had to say, so I'll hear from you in response.
Okay, well, most part is that it's about the bushes. And for 6 years, the old management, me cut them down every year because I got a $2,000 fence I put up, and it's rotting because the branches get stuck in between them and lay on it. And for 6 years, that's the way it went. She'd get them cut, we'd get a hold of the manager, and she never did it on her own. The manager always had to tell her time to cut those bushes back, encroaching on his property, and that was sort of the rule. And then when the new management took over here this last year, it seemed like nothing was going to be done at all about it. We called 5 or 6 times to the property manager. We even called the organization that supposedly is the organization that owns this place now, and nobody did anything at all. So I took to cutting them on my own, that was on my side of the fence, and I tossed them back over. Wasn't aware that once I cut them, that I inherited them, and that I was the one then supposed to pay to dispose of them. And that's basically what it came down to. And then it got all blown out of proportion that day. And there was cussing, both sides were cussing each other. And the threat of calling the cops was fine. And I was agreeable to that. Call them, let's get them over here and get this taken care of. Would have been pretty short. And a phone call probably would have solved this whole problem. But instead, they decided to come rushing my house and saying I was threatening her mother. Threatening, did you say you're going to kill my mother? You got a gun, Mr. Hare? Things like this that just kept antagonizing me, getting me louder and louder and louder. And none of it was true. And then she went and got the president of this organization and 2 more people. There was 4 of them then. Now this one comes up onto my porch, banging on my door. I opened the door, asked her what she wanted, and she started telling me, you're threatening the neighbor and we're going to evict you. And then I told her, if you would have took your job, this would have never continued. It would have been over with by now. And she takes her finger and she goes to my face and starts telling me to shut up, shut up. And one time her finger actually hit my nose. I told her that's an assault.
Just slow down a little bit. And who are you talking about? You're talking about?
I'm talking about the president of the organization. No,
okay, so.
No, Mary.
Mary.
Okay, so.
This is how
So slow down a little
much
bit.
more to do
Back
after
up,
that.
just Mr. Hare, just slow down, back up. And go ahead. How did Ms. Bigelow become involved in this?
She is a president, right? I guess they called her and she come down and I guess she was going to show some authority and come in and tell me she was going to evict me and that I was threatening the neighbor and I broke some rules at the park, which there was never a threat, ever one threat. If you look in the thing, you don't even see him mention a threat. And if there was, what was the threat? There was none. But the thing is, she was on my front porch, banging on my door and pointing her finger, telling me to shut my mouth, and then went at my face with her hand. This is not, I don't think, the way that somebody who's a president of a mobile home senior park should be treating senior citizens. And the other ones came in at that point, came in off the street. They were on the other side of my fence and actually did enter my property. I told them, you know what, this has gone far enough. You're trespassing. It's time for you to leave. And there was cussing, both sides. A lot of accusations being made that weren't true. We never stole her damn food from the food bank.
Anything further?
No, just that's about it.
Okay, and your interaction with Ms. Bigelow was confined to that particular incident at that
Front
time?
porch, yes.
And
The
then what
daughter was
about
being,
Ms. Struble, the younger?
yeah, she was the threatening, she was sort of the bully of the little gang they had. She was telling my wife, egging her on, hit me, hit me, hit me. And then telling her, I'll put you in the ground. Then she'd turn around and F off and die. This is the kind of thing that we were putting up with on our property. Then, like I said, a phone call would have probably took care of this whole situation. Got blown way out of proportion. And then I felt attacked. And if it would have been men, it would have been a gang, considered a gang. But it was 4 women.
So Ms. Bigelow, could you raise your right hand, please? You swear and affirm the information testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
I have a motion to dismiss to read. Would you like that first, or do you want me to testify? How would you like me to proceed?
I'd like you to testify. So we're all here.
All
We can
right.
swear you in, and if you've been sworn in, and then, yeah, just let me know what you think, and then I'll hear your motion at the end of everything. Just
All
let me
right,
get
thank
everything
you.
in place.
You've read my filed statement,
Yeah,
correct?
but I do
So-
want you to, if you could summarize for the
Yes,
record, that would be
I
great.
will. I am a board member of the co-op. The co-op just recently came into fruition. I was one of the people who helped make that happen. It was a long and arduous process. And the whole reason I went over there was to provide the Hares with the community rules and the bylaws and show them where they were violating that. As a board member, we are privy to all of the issues that are happening because it's reported to us by the property management company. It's not something that we talk to members about because it's confidential. And we had on notice several times that Linda Struble had been had branches thrown on her property by the Hares after they trimmed it on their property. I know that Gateway, the management company, had told the Hares that they could not toss this is what they reported to the board, that they could not toss the branches onto Linda Struble's property, that they had every right to cut them because it's overhang, but they did not have the right to do that. They'd been put on notice a number of times. It was Sunday, and in general, unless it's fire, flood, or famine, the property management company is not available on a Sunday. And I got called by Mickey Struble saying that her mom was extremely upset and was crying and shaking. And Mickey went over and she said she told the Strubles to leave her mother alone and that they came at her incredibly enraged. She was on the sidewalk. This is what she said. She was on the sidewalk and that he was yelling at her so much so that his teeth came out. And the level of rage that he had was frightening. And so Pam Lamborghini behind me is the vice president. I'm the president of the board. We both are privy to the steps that have taken place to mitigate this. And so she called me and we met at Linda Struble's house and discussed what we should do. And we determined that we should deliver them the rules and bylaws and let them know that the way that this all can stop is if they adhere to the rules. So myself and Pam was behind me. I knocked on their door. I didn't bang on their door. I knocked on their door loudly because my experience so far is that many of the people in the park can't hear. So I knocked loudly. If it was too loud, I apologize. But I said that we had a complaint that they were tossing limbs onto Linda Struble's property. And I didn't get much more out than that. And Mr. Hare said BS. And then he came out onto the porch, followed by his wife, and screamed at me that she was a liar, screamed that they were all liars. And I just said, you need to stop yelling at me. And he did not. And ultimately, and I categorically deny that I ever put my hands in his face. I did not do that. I did ask him to not yell at me. And they were just yelling. I asked them, I tried to give them the bylaws. They refused them, said a bunch of stuff about the co-op and me and whatever. It was not pleasant. And then he asked me to get off his property, which I did, started to. And then she said something about the rules. I turned around and said, do you want a copy of these? She said, no. And I said, okay. And we started walking off. Pam was already out on the sidewalk. I was just about there. I closed the gate fairly strongly because it was sticky when I tried to get in. And I was heated. I was definitely heated. I don't like being yelled at like that. It was kind of scary having him yell in my face. He talks about a senior community. I too am a senior. I too am, I think I'm older than they are actually. And it was frightening.
I'm not asking anyone's age.
Hmm?
I'm not asking anyone's age.
You are a good man. So I've never, ever spoken to the Hares before, ever, that I know of, and certainly I've never been to their property or house. I've never knocked on their door. I've never done anything. And we just wanted them to know that they needed to adhere to the rules, because the next step, and what I did say is the next step is a move for eviction. I was concerned that they would be evicted. I don't want them evicted. I think that's a horrible thing to have happen. But property management companies follow a process, and we wanted them to be aware of the rules. That's what we wanted. And then he was yelling at me more, and I said, he's called me, can't remember exactly what he called me, but something. And I said, say that to my face, buddy. I was on the outside of the fence at that time. And then he started to come down the stairs, and his wife tried to hold him back, but he came down the stairs and got in my face. And then when they realized they were being videoed, he was doing this on the video, and I don't feel like he was trying to attack me at all. He was just being, I don't know what he was being, but he did that. That's it.
And then you, Mickey Struble, could you raise your right hand, please?
Yes,
Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You can put your hand down and go ahead, ma'am. Anything you wish to say. You've heard your name has been mentioned a few times. I'll hear from you regarding all this.
Okay, so I have the history from my mother. It's been an ongoing thing. It started way back a few years, I think maybe 6 years, whenever they moved in, there was some contention there about the property lines and fencing, and the way we resolved at that point is I worked with the property management at the time. I was actually traveling for some work, and I worked with her to put in, and my mother actually moved some flowers back when we put a fence in, and I paid for the fencing, and the property manager paid to have it installed. And then every time something would come up with trimming, my mom would have some neutral person trim it on their side and pull the stuff away. And this seemed to be pretty good for several years.
Until the maintenance person went away.
The maintenance person went away. And so there was no longer this person. So my mother called the property management and said, and they said, well, they're allowed to trim on their side. And then, she explained what had happened with it. So I think that's where the change happened, is that now they were angry about having to trim on their side and remove it. So I had this history, and I know this had been going on for a while, and she had been calling property management, and it was a Sunday. Property management is closed on Sunday. So she called me crying, very upset that they had done it for like 3 times in a row. So I went over there. I drove my car over there. I live in the park as well. I parked in front of their place. And I walked up to the sidewalk and I said, hello. And they came out, they rushed out very quickly. They were much angrier when I was there, when it was just me, than when it was 3 of us. There was never 4. I don't know, or 4 or 5. I think in the thing it said 5 and then 4. But at first it was just me. And I said, I want you to stop harassing my mother and quit throwing things over the fence. And then they were calling me a liar. There was cussing back and forth. And finally, in the end, they said, fuck off. And I just get off my property. And I said, fuck you off. I said the same thing. And I wasn't very pleasant either. And so I left. I never entered their property. I was always on the sidewalk on the outside of the gate. I just wanted this stuff to stop. I've been going to my mother's for 15 years. And I've never had any interaction with them except for this one incident. And it was very obvious that I should not have, and have no intention ever of interacting with them. I would have liked to maybe come to some kind of resolution where we could have trimmed. I'm happy to pay for some trimming if that would have resolved it, but I'm not sure that it would. But there wasn't any space for that to happen that day. So I went back, I left. And what I said, I said as I was leaving. And I went back over to my mother's and I called the board because I knew property management wasn't available. And again, I want to say there was never 5 people at any time. I don't understand where that number came from. Because
Just the 3 of you?
Yes, it was me, and then Pam and Mary when we went back.
All right, thank you. And then, ma'am, I haven't heard from you yet. Is there anything you wish to say at this time?
I would.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Swear and affirm the information and testimony that you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Well, when Mary came to our home, well, first I'll back up. When Mickey came at first by herself, she didn't enter the property, but she pulled up in a very aggressive manner and jumped out of her car, ran to the sidewalk and started yelling at us to stop harassing her mother, stop throwing things over the fence. There were words exchanged or whatever. And then she left and went over to her mother's. And when there were 4 of them, there was Mary and Mickey and Linda and Pam. They all came into our property and they were on, Linda stayed back by the fence, but she was inside our fence. They came and they pounded on the door so hard that it actually frightened me. I was very leery. And we came out on the porch and my husband and I didn't leave the porch and Mary was standing on the porch very closely. And as they were all arguing, she was being, I didn't think she was being friendly. So she asked if we wanted the copy of the rules and bylaws. And I said, no, because we already have them. We were not aware before this particular day that it was against the law for us to throw the branches back onto her property, which if we had known that, we wouldn't have done it.
Doesn't that make sense though?
Well, no, because as we kept yelling at her, it's your stuff. You trim it, you've done it every year. And now for some reason, this year, they've decided not to do it.
Well, I think you heard why.
Because it lays on our fence and it's rotting our fence. And
But I mean, you heard why it didn't get cut anymore.
Well, I'm not understanding why it didn't get cut anymore. Nobody's ever had to come on our property to cut it. They've always done it from her property. And I'm really, what I feel like that day, if Mary wanted to confront us about this, she could have called on the phone. They didn't have to come at us like a gang, which all their behavior was very aggressive, I felt, and didn't think that that was at all necessary. There's things in their statements all that are not accurate, but I'm not going to bore you with all those because they're not pertinent to this. It's just little things here and there, but this has caused both of us. My husband has a very bad heart condition. And for several days after this, he was so shook by this that I was afraid that he might either have a heart attack or a stroke. And I have been just a bundle of nerves over this because we don't feel that we have done anything so terrible that if everybody would just, her daughter says that she would arrange to have the bushes cut. All right, if you felt that way, why did you let it get this far? Why didn't you just do it? Because you know it's been done every year. So that was our complaint. That was all this big stuff is all about. It just seemed like it was too much made out of it till it got to be a big blown up issue. And as far as talking about evicting us, we didn't feel that we had done something so terrible that we should be evicted for it. We've never been aggressive except that fact on our side of the fence. And yes, we've thrown branches back over. We didn't intentionally break her plants. We didn't know what she has on the other side of the fence. I can't even see over it. But it's just gotten to the point where if they would just arrange every year when these branches, well, these trees grow up, I don't know, maybe 20 feet tall. And if they would just arrange to have this stuff cut every year, there would be no problem whatsoever. We keep to ourselves. We expect everybody else to keep to themselves. And that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you. What sort of tree are we talking about here? I forgot to ask
Uh, Uh,
that.
I don't know. They just grew up when I started. When I got there,
Are they trees or bushes or?
Those are the bushes.
it's a bush.
Okay, good, ma'am. That's you. All right.
The,
All right.
the
So,
the thing was that I paid for it every time. Well, because and I paid
so you
for
need to be quiet, ma'am.
I paid for that to happen every time.
So, Mr. Fields, we're almost done. We'll start with you in a minute. That's fine. So, here's what's going to happen today. So basically yes, ma'am.
May I make a motion to dismiss?
We'll just stand by for a minute. Let me
Okay.
tell you what I'm going to do and
Thank you.
maybe that'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
And so with regard to, again, there's 4 separate actions here. Ms. Struble is asking for an order against the Hares, and then the Hares are asking for an order against Ms. Bigelow, and then both Strubles. But so essentially what happened here, there seems to be a lot of agreement on what exactly happened here is that some bushes or trees or some sort of foliage is growing on Ms. Linda Strubel's property that occasionally grows, as things do around here, and it overhangs a fence. In the past, there had been a few instances where Ms. Strubel would take care of that, have that paid for, or have that taken care of by a maintenance person who apparently no longer works at this particular establishment, this housing, the senior housing development, I guess would be the best way to put it. And so then that stopped. And then, and when you live on a piece of property and some tree or a bush on the adjoining piece of property overhangs onto your property, it's your responsibility and right to take care of that. And it's not appropriate to, which should be intuitive, I would think, is just to cut it off and then toss it into the neighbor's yard. And again, there's some dispute as to whether or not they'd been told whether you can or can't do that. And then Ms. Bigelow, is my understanding, was that in the bylaws?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, not tree branches,
But
but
throwing,
you
but throwing,
can't harass
right.
a person continuously.
And so I find the act of, cutting the branches, frankly, that's going to be your responsibility. Ms. Strubel was doing you a favor over the years for having that taken care of, but if it overhangs onto your property, you can make arrangements to have that cut. You might have to bear the cost of that. There are limits on that. You can't do something that kills the tree or anything like that, although which I've seen happen in this arena. And so you can't do that, but you can certainly cut branches that overhang onto your property. What you cannot do is take those branches or cuttings and throw them into the your next door neighbor's yard, which apparently happened on more than one occasion, which I would find that it's a series of acts. Again, you're just doing that just to do it, and for lack of a better term, get Ms. Strubel's goat, which you clearly did. So I will find that that activity is harassing. I'll grant the order from Linda Strubel requesting, the order is just, you're just not to talk to each other. There's no distance restriction or anything like that. So it's not going to affect your ability to go to and from your house or anything like that. You just can't have, for the next year, you're not to have any contact with Ms. Linda Strubel. Do you understand that?
Yes.
With regard to your petition against the other 3, those are all going to be denied. I don't find there was an incident. There was apparently a blow up where voices were raised on all parties, but that's not a series of acts over a period of time, which leads to the rebel harassment. So I'm going to deny those orders. But I think everybody knows how everybody feels. If a pattern does develop, you can bring this back and we can look at it again. But those are going to be the orders here for today. I'm going to grant Ms. Linda Strubel's order, and then your request for orders against all those 3 will be denied. Go ahead, sir.
Could I have my rights to bear arms and buy a weapon back?
That in the
It was in the order that I couldn't buy, purchase, or have any weapons on my property.
Give me just a second.
I've never had a law, anything against a gun, never used a gun.
Yeah, no. Again, just by way of background, and domestic violence related orders, yes, that does for a surrender of firearms. In these sorts of cases, anti-harassment, in order to find some sort of, like if a weapon was used. And so it's written in there, but that was never part of the order. The box needs to be checked for you to surrender weapons and all of that. That box was not checked. So your firearm rights were never affected one way or
Okay,
the other.
fine, that's great.
And so again, the order will see. So do you have a full order and do not? Okay, thank you. So give me just a stick. Give me a few moments to fill these out, and then you'll all get copies of them, and you'll all be all free to go. Okay, so the parameters of the order, you're not to cause her any harm, you're not to contact her in any way, you're not to engage in stalking behavior like following her around or anything like that. In terms of exclude and stay away, I didn't check that box. It has distance restrictions, don't come within the 1,000 feet or what have you. That's not in place, but you're not to come onto her property and you're not to contact her in any way. Do you understand all that?
Yes.
And then this order will exist for 1 year. And if you feel it necessary to renew that before the end of 1 year, you can do that. Hopefully, this will work itself out where that won't be necessary. Younger Struble, I did hear you mention that you're willing to arrange to have those things cut. There's nothing to stop you from doing that on your own, and then I'm just throwing that out there.
Thank you.
But it's not required.
We're gonna look at it and see if there's something we can do here. Avoid this.
They and her get a copy of that one and do the denials here.
All right, that's about it on that one. They were going to go for another 3 hours talking about how they were going to clean up the tree, but we don't need to go into that. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. Had a pile of people in here. Saw some new names out there. Trying to read through. There was a new name, Hector, and I'm gonna say Jeline Alicia. Glad to have you guys out here. This right here was in Thurston County, up in Olympia, Washington. So this is up in your part of the country. We're gonna put it back up to replay. The beginning of it, the voice is garbled for about, I'd say 30 seconds to a minute, but we got past that. Victoria showed me how to use the internet, and so we won that one. No, it does not look promising in the future. I got a feeling that they'll be right back arguing about something. Everybody, you guys have a good night, and we'll see you again tomorrow night. I think Jen Hardy's got a live at 7 p.m. and then we'll follow her at 8 p.m. And so look for Discord for all the links, and I'm sure we'll have a link for hers as soon as possible. All right, see you later. See you later, Steve. And Nan's already went out. See, I got to make sure I do the live until Nan has enough, and then she'll let me know it's time to go to bed. Oh, wonderful. I got their names right. So everyone have a good night, and we'll see y'all tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I think it's 4 p.m. over on the West Coast. So y'all have a good night, and we'll see you then. All right, bye.